What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for May 30th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. As always, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you from 2007 to 2011, which Phillies team was most disappointing? 43% of you said the 2009. Hard to argue that because they got there, should have won, and did not. Everybody else was pretty split between the 10 and the 11 seasons. No surprises that nobody voted for the 07 because I think the expectations were just like, holy crap, we actually got to the playoffs. But hard to argue with that 2009 team that I feel got robbed. But we don't need to go into that today. But as always, thanks for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line, or you can hit me up on social media, Jimbo_Mott, Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is the best way to get yourself in the loop with what's happening. Hopefully, you're going to have some fun things happening this summer. So subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word, because the nickname tournament is coming. The Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament coming June 24th, running through July 25th. 64 nicknames, 4 regions. You get to vote. What is the ultimate Philly sports nickname? We're still in the war room with the selection committee trying to figure it out. I think we pretty well have it settled, but there still might be some tweaks here or there. We will do the selection show on June 21st. Probably will record it a little earlier. I was thinking about doing it live, but going away for a golf outing that Friday, so I'll probably get it out beforehand. But stay tuned for that. Break down the brackets, break down the nicknames, and then let you guys have at it for the weekend so you can explain and go off on why the nicknames and the seedings are wrong. But stay tuned. That is coming. June 21st is the selection Friday show. And then June 24th, the tournament kicks off. Like I said, tell your friends, tell everyone. Let's spread this thing. I've been telling you, all the information for the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame is in the description. Big induction class. If you want to buy tickets, the information is there. If you're interested in being a sponsor or donating something for a silent auction, hit me up offline for that. All right. Phillies won. Salvaged. And I feel like this was a huge game for a number of reasons. First of all, I said before going into it, 3-3 would be a successful road trip. They ended up going 2-4. But 2-4 still sounds a hell of a lot better than 1-5. So a huge win for them. They kind of got their swagger back when Bryce got hit, threw up and inside, and the benches cleared and everything. I like that. Hopefully that's going to be one of those things that re-sparks or reignites this team and has them going. I heard on the radio, we had a Girl Scout ceremony, so I wasn't able to watch the end of it. But listening to Schwarber on the post-game show on the radio, and he was saying that they knew he wasn't doing it on purpose, but it's starting to become a consistent thing with him. So they were kind of just saying, yo, get your shit together, which I like. And they all stuck up for Bryce. And like I'm hoping that this is one of those things that because they're such a close team, such a fun team. And San Francisco, this is the first time they won there in like 9 years. So it's not even like for some reason they just have a mental block there. I'm sorry, not the first time in 9 years, first time in 9 games. But their record in 9 years there is not much better either. So get away from it, come back home for a little bit, regroup. The pitching was good. I mean, I think it was the bats really that really, especially in Colorado, I expected way more runs to be scored and hits and homers in Colorado, but it was a low-scoring series. I think the under hit in all 3 games. The numbers were high, and then just struggling. And they started to hit yesterday. They could not get runners in, but they remain consistent. I'm hopeful that this is Castellanos finally coming around. He went 3 for 5, 2 RBIs and a homer. He was batting 5th, so I don't know if like tomorrow when it's more of the regular lineup, if Rob Thompson is going to keep him there. And Rob's not been afraid to put guys where they're comfortable. I know the big story for the past few years is why is Schwarber hitting leadoff, blah, 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 blah. But he's comfortable doing it. They're successful when he does it. So if Castellanos hitting fifth helps, I don't know. And maybe that, I don't know if that's going to hurt. I mean, he's going to have to produce because it might hurt Bohm not seeing a bunch of pitches. So there's a lot to, that's why Rob Thompson's the manager and I'm not. But we'll see how they do tomorrow or at home versus St. Louis. All right, I told you yesterday I had a couple things it was our day out for school, so I tried to get to as many of them as possible. Unfortunately, the ones in my area were all at the same time, so I only made it to 2, but I wore the fans. Everybody was complimentary on it, and a few people even knew Philly Goat. I told them about the promo code, so hopefully that's going to see a little bit of boost in sales under my promo code. But check out these canvas loafers for yourselves. They're so comfortable. Even at the Girl Scouts thing, I never changed. I still had them on. People were like, those are awesome. Where'd you get them? So don't be left out. Go get, and they have, if you don't want to wear the Fanatics, that's fine. I got the Schmitties sort of as, I'm like, I like the color scheme. Didn't think they match with everything. Go check them out. They're comfortable, way better than Hey Dudes. And if you're a Hey Dude person, get these. They're way more comfortable. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Go to phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery, all one word, for 10% off of your order. You're going to love these shoes. And then get a bathing suit while you're at it, too, and a T-shirt. Make a whole thing of it. All right, some Sixers news. And yesterday, the big story was that it's continuing to get legs, that not only are they all in on Jimmy Butler if he's made available for a trade, the ownership group regrets not re-signing him 5 years ago. No shit. We all knew it was a mistake back then, but not important now. I don't know if I want that, because then you're going to have to sign him to an extension. He's going to be old by the time. Although it'd be like a 2-year extension, so I'm torn on this, because will he make the team better next year? Absolutely. Will that put them over the hump? That I don't know. And it's an interesting thing, and I saw this from a few different people on social media yesterday, and I really stopped to think about it. And they're in a bad spot where they have all this money for free agency in a crappy free agent class, and they have a ton of draft pick capital. So I don't know. And it's just somebody said something, and I didn't think it was the worst idea, knowing that you have a finite timeline with him. But is the answer to trade Joel now? While I don't think you're going to get, right now, if you're going to ever trade him, now is the time. His value is at the max. You get a ton of draft picks. And again, this is not a good draft class, but if you start thinking maybe next year or the year after, re-sign Tyrese to the max and then build around Tyrese with all of the draft pick capital you got, and then maybe punt on this year coming up and then see who might be available for free agency next year or whatever. It's an option. I don't know if I would do that, but it was the first time in my life since Joe's been here that I'm like, not a bad idea. So that leads to the question of the day. What is the better option right now for the Sixers? Trade Joel for as much as they can, or keep him and try to make do with this weak free agent class and weak draft? 267-495-8531 get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Text me, send a voicemail, hit me up on the socials, but let me know, is now the time to trade Joe? And this is one of those things I feel like I'm buying into the sports talk radio that I always rip, but it's an intriguing thought based on where this team is. And then the secondary question, or a follow-up question, would be, do you trust Daryl Morey to do it? I don't. So I almost would say let's keep Joe and see what we get. But it was an interesting thing. Is it way out of line? Let me know your thoughts. 267-495-8531. Get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Should the Sixers explore possibly trading Joel while because I can't see his value getting any. This is probably the max. Maybe last year would have been the max, but right now is the max I think you're going to be able to get. Maybe a team out west. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are. I don't think I would do it. If you had put me on a hot seat and I had to say it now, I would say no. However, I'm not necessarily 100% opposed, and maybe I still have PTSD from Ben Simmons, and I 100% will admit I bought into the videos on Instagram every single offseason that this year was going to be different, but instead he got worse as the time progressed. So maybe I just have PTSD from holding on to him too long. But what are you thinking, Joe? Yay or nay? Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. New episode drops today. I'm sure they'll be talking a lot of NBA Finals anywhere you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Eagles have been continuing their OTAs. Mandatory minicamp is next week. The biggest question, I guess, heading into that, I mean, there's a ton of questions for this team, but current event-wise, the biggest question is going to be, is James Bradbury going to show up? And what are the Eagles going to do with him? I don't think it makes any sense to cut him now. I know June 1st is the magic date where they can decrease the cap hit, but there's a lot. As bad as he was, you don't know how these young guys are going to turn out. I don't think now's the time to release him. I would rather see him come into training camp, see what you got with the young guys, and then not hopefully, but if a team has a major injury, or God forbid we have an injury and you need him, I would like to think we just hold on to James Bradbury right now and just chalk up last year as just a anomaly, but we'll see. And I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. I feel you have to hold on to him for the time being, at least until you figure out what these young guys are, because they have the potential, but we know what potential is. It's nothing if you don't follow through on it or something like that. I don't even know if that makes sense. A lot of talk yesterday too, because I was driving around, so I was listening to a lot of sports talk radio, and a lot of the talk was whether it was a make or break season for Jalen Hurts, and I don't know. I think it is. I mean, I think you need to know what you have with him. There's a lot. I think talent-wise, he's fine, but that whole leadership thing is a question. However, I do feel that Nick Sirianni is more on a make or break than anything. There was a lot of folks saying, well, Howie doesn't even trust him because he's doing all this and giving him weapons. And I don't think so. I think Howie's one of those guys that's always ahead of the curve. And I think everybody right now is, and Howie kind of led that charge where they're all out on running backs. And that goes back to even the Super Bowl year when they were bringing in LeGarrette Blount, signed J.J., and just kind of plugging and playing guys. I think he saw an opportunity, a way to make his team better and in a different way than some other teams do. So I don't think bringing in Saquon Barkley had a ton to do with him not trusting Jalen Hurts. But it is an interesting question because I do think Jalen needs to have a bounce back year before the questions. And somebody said it, I think it was Joe Giglio, and I think it was perfect that, I mean, this is the second time I'm mentioning PTSD about a player that left here, but I think we're all still suffering from Carson Wentz PTSD and the way that went so south so fast that we're assuming one not great year, I guess you could call it, or subpar year based on what the expectation was from Jalen, and now we're all panicking. I don't think Jalen is nearly as weak as mentally as Carson was. So I don't think we have that problem, but I think we're still a little skittish because of what happened with that. So anxious to see, and hopefully he continues to grow and do well with all the weapons. I mean, I will say this, whether or not Howie did it because he doesn't trust him, there is no excuse this year for Jalen. So we'll see how that goes. But mandatory mini camps next week. And the big question is whether or not James Bradbury shows up. I think he does. I don't know if he shows up, but I don't think the Eagles cut him because I think right now there's just too many question marks, and he could be a valuable asset to have to make your team better moving forward. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. All right, the Union, their second straight scoreless draw. That's 3 straight shutouts, though, for them. Defensively, they just can't score. I don't know. Is it time to bring the 14-year-old up? Wouldn't be surprised. They're kind of in that purgatory where they're in the play-in, hanging out there. They're close. I mean, they can certainly go on a run and make a move up the standings, but maybe it's time to get a little 14. I forget the guy's name, Caven something, but I mean, you only have him until I think he's 18, so why not see what the kid can do? I mean, they haven't scored a goal in 2 games, so can't hurt, but they're back in action on Saturday. There is no Mishkov update, just a lot of rumblings and rumors as we get closer to the Stanley Cup about what the Flyers' moves are going to be. And it appears that just like last offseason, all options are on the table. And I think with that deadline looming for Mishkov to sort of make that decision, not really a deadline, but I guess whatever the guy from the KHL said, he was like, we'll have a decision by whenever. I think, I mean, that is sort of determining which way they go. But as I said last offseason, I'll say it again, I have full trust in Danny Briere as well as Keith Jones to make the right decision. And I like the direction of this team. And I've been telling you to get on the ground floor with the Flyers. Now would be the time to do it. All right, we're going to go back to the Phillies again today. And this time we're going to go back to 2009. And on this day in 2009, Phillies beat the Nationals 9-6 at Citizens Bank Park. Ryan Howard hit 2 home runs. He had a solo shot to open up the scoring for the Phillies in the second. And then in the bottom of the third, he hit a grand slam, knocked in J-Roll, Shane Victorino, and Chase Utley. There's a couple nicknames that you got J-Roll, the Flying Hawaiian, and the Man. I wonder if they made the tournament, and if they did, where are they? Find out soon. Sorry, that was a shameless plug for the nickname tournament coming soon, but you know how it goes. But the shot by Ryan Howard, which was a grand slam, reached the third deck. At the time, it was the only, and I should have looked this up and I didn't, but it was only the second ball to ever hit the third deck at Citizens Bank Park. The other one happened in 2006, also by Ryan Howard. It was his 3rd grand slam of the season and the 8th of his career, which the 8th grand slam passed Mike Schmidt for the Phillies' all-time record for grand slams. Mike Schmidt hit his 7th in his 875th game. Ryan Howard broke the record and hit his 8th in his 616th game. Just shows you just how incredible Ryan Howard was for that stretch of years. If you're keeping score at home, like I know some of you do, because I would be the same way, Ryan has 15 for his career. Then you got Schmitty with 7. And then Bobby Abreu has 6. And then it's Bryce, Chase, Pat Burrell, Darren Dalton, and Greg Luzinski all with 5. And that 2009 season was a great year for the Phillies, as well as Ryan Howard. He hit 45 homers and 141 RBI, made an all-star team, but they were voted as the most disappointing team of all by you, our loyal listeners, because of not being able to close the deal in the World Series. All right, finally today, it's a family affair, and today we're going to take a look at and spotlight Joe Watson, defenseman for the Flyers. He is one of the original Flyers. He spent 11 years with the Flyers and was one of their expansion picks in the expansion draft when the NHL doubled in size. For his career, he had 36 goals and 162 assists, but was one of the better defensemen, and really just wasn't known much as a scorer, but was one of the heart and soul pieces of that Broad Street Bullies defense. He did win 2 Stanley Cups. He's in the Flyers Hall of Fame and just recently inducted. I got to meet him last fall into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Very nice guy. His little brother, Jimmy, was also a defenseman, played 10 years with the Flyers, was drafted in, I believe, 1971, had 36 goals and 148 assists, so very similar numbers to Joe. He also played on both Cup teams, and really these guys statistically, if you look at goals and assists, scoring-wise, they were very similar, but both hard-nosed defensemen. But Joe Watson I would take the edge slightly over him because he was more of one of the unsung leaders of that Flyers team. Everybody knows Clark and Barber and Perrant and Dave Schultz. But Joe Watson, because he was an original guy and he was there from the very beginning for the Flyers, it was very cool for him to win and be a part of the first 2 Stanley Cups, playing alongside his younger brother, Jimmy. That is today's Family Affair Spotlight. Joe Watson, defenseman for the Flyers, one of the originals, won 2 Cups, playing alongside his little brother, Jimmy, who had a pretty solid career himself as well. But that is today's It's a Family Affair Spotlight. On this day in 2009, Ryan Howard and the Phillies beat the Nationals 9-6. Howard hit 2 home runs, had 5 RBI, including a grand slam, which broke a tie with Mike Schmidt on top of the Phillies' all-time grand slam list. We'll keep you posted as we get more updates on Mishkov. I have a feeling something is going to break and come soon. I have a feeling like as we're winding down the NBA and NHL seasons, we're going to have a lot of big news heading into the dog days and just the Phillies. But stay tuned for the nickname tournament selection. Friday is June 21st. The tournament kicks off June 24th. 2 matchups a day. You get to choose what is the best. You have the Balboa region, the Ben Franklin region, the Schuylkill region, and what was the other one? The cheesesteak, Ben Franklin, Schuylkill, and Balboa. So looking forward to just having some fun with that as we get into the dog days of summer. Until the tournament starts in June, we are going to take a trip down Phillies memory lane and take a look at some random Phillies who you either forgot played or didn't realize played for the Phillies. So that should be some fun as we slowly turn our focus to all Phillies for the summer. Phils are off tonight. Much needed day off, shake off whatever ailed them out on the West Coast. And if I haven't told you before, I hate West Coast trips. But we should be home for a little while now before heading across the pond to England in a couple of weeks. Be sure to get your London Series t-shirts from Philly Goat. Get the shoes. You won't be disappointed. I'm telling you, so many people compliment me on them. They're like, nice shoes. So don't be left out. Be part of the cool kids and buy your canvas loafers from phillygoat.com. Be sure to answer the question of the day. Is it time to think about trading Joe? I don't know. I mean, I could be. Right now I'm saying no, but I could very easily be convinced to do so. But let me know your thoughts. Am I just going through my annual post-breakup with the ex-girlfriend right now and I hate everything about them? Or is there some merit to that? Let me know your thoughts. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for May 30th, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.